across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Nick Coffer.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's heading towards 3 o'clock. Husband and wife team Karen and David Levy are spreading their love for their late dog Jimmy to the rest of the world. The Welling couple have written a book all about Hungarian Puli's Jimmy's unusual breed, but they've had to overcome challenges to get there, with Karen's lupus diagnosis, which led to husband David getting involved in the writing side of things. I was talking to someone only last week about living with lupus, Karen, and it can be very tricky. Remind me what it is.
Well, it's an autoimmune disease, and it basically, for me, it affects my skin, my connective tissue, and gives me terrible headaches. And on a day-to-day basis, it's just debilitating.
It can leave you very exhausted, can't it?
Exhausted, and I can't use my hands properly, and sometimes I can't even walk properly. And that's why David got involved, because I couldn't type or anything. And actually, together, he's got to know the disease a lot more. So.
How does it first manifest itself to you?
Well, it came out. They just thought I had rheumatoid arthritis or something to do with rheumatology. But they found out later on that it had got inside my liver. So I was getting allergic to a lot of food I was eating.
Yeah.
And it had got into my thyroid. So suddenly my thyroid packed up. It affects everyone differently, but it starts to sort of kill off your vital organs and things. It
is your body rebelling against yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like having your body attacking itself. So that's why you get tired. Even when you're asleep, your body's doing like a war amongst itself. And the good cells are being killed by the bad cells, basically.
I was looking this up. The American Lupus Society. In fact, I just have it in 1 second. The bottom. Here we go. They call it the cruel mystery. Lupus. It remains very much a cruel mystery.
It hasn't had a lot of funding put into trying to cure it. I don't know why. Years ago, they used to call it something to do with the wolf. Because some people get like a really horrible rash.
Well, lupus is Latin for wolf.
Yeah, so it was like the wolf illness, and it's a lot of mystique about it, but no one's ever come up with a cure.
It ebbs and flows, doesn't it? You have good times and less good times.
Definitely, and through my bad times, I wrote the book in hospital, which was fantastic, and writing the book with David and illustrating it in hospital brought a big smile to my face, a lot of the doctors and nurses, and gave a lot of people confidence to carry on.
What had led you to be hospitalised? How bad had it got?
I'm allergic to a lot of drugs. It doesn't affect everyone, so I don't want to scare you all out there. Not everyone's going to be allergic to every drug, but I am. And whatever drug they gave me, I came up with reactions. So they tried to put me on like an infusion of Ritronab, which is a new drug, but it didn't work with me. So I'm going to try alternative treatment, but please don't think that it might work for you. So please don't think it won't.
When did you first get Jimmy?
I got Jimmy about 10 years ago.
Okay. And he's a puli.
He's a puli.
So that's a lot of hair, isn't it? It's just like a mop.
It's like a mop. If anyone's got the old-fashioned mops, those white mops. Yeah, he looks like that.
I'm hoping David didn't used to turn him upside down and squeeze him out, though. That would have been wrong, wouldn't it?
Very wicked.
Very wicked, but great fun.
No, when I used to take him for a walk, I should have charged the council some money, because basically he used to sweep the streets for them.
Right, okay.
But we rescued him from the RSPCA, and he had no fur, and he was really sorrowful.
Which is saying something for a puli, because they are.
They'd shaved all his fur, he'd been treated badly, he'd had 3 previous owners, and we took him in. Everyone said he was a lost cause, but he wasn't, and he turned out to be the most loving, lovely dog, and he loved children.
And he became quite a local celeb, didn't he?
He did. His fur grew and grew and grew, as you can see, Nick.
Dreadlocked.
It didn't stop growing. Yeah. And wherever he walked, people used to think, is he a sheep? Is he a woolly cotton wool cloud? Yeah. And basically...
No, he's a dreadlocked dog.
Yeah, he's a dreadlocked dog. That's what I used to say.
There is a little bit of puli about your hair as well, Karen. Has this been pointed out to you before? I'm
a few times.
Tiptoeing very carefully around this.
Yeah, tiptoeing very carefully, Nick. But everyone used to say, owners resemble their dogs. I know. And I've got the white colour hair.
Yeah.
And when I leave it curly and it's longer. When my illness, I had to cut it off. But when it was longer from the back, my neighbours used to say, "Who's Jimmy and who's Karen?"
I wasn't quite going. I wasn't quite going there, but you get my drift. At which point, I've forgotten his name. What's the dog's name?
Jimmy.
Jimmy. At which point did Jimmy take on regal personalities for you, David?
Right, I came in on the operation. We started with the storyboard. Karen was starting to get very slow in writing. And what happened basically was, Nick, that I started to learn how to write. Karen's always had the imaginative, artistic side. And I started to come up with story plans, started to come up with fighting and coming up with all kinds of warlocks.
And creating a royal family of pulis.
And I started to create it with Karen, and we came up with a storyboard with all this exciting fantasy world. And then we told the kids, every time they stopped our dog, Jimmy, we used to make up stories. And then we really enjoyed them. So then we tried another ploy, we tried another story.
Well, Jimmy was our prince.
Tried it.
So these are random children in the park. You're telling them stories
yes.
of a random royal family of puli dogs.
Yeah, and
no
the
one
mothers,
ever pulled you up on this?
No one's ever said to us, Nick.
Well, we lived in Radler, and it was a local park, and it was like in between all of the houses. And the
Which
mothers,
park was it, Radler?
Radler, it was Gills Hill Lane, and it was Gills Hill Park.
Yeah.
And everyone used to come out of Gills Hill School, and everyone wanted to see him, and he'd sit in the park, and it's very local. And the mummies would be there, and everyone would sit, and they'd have basically not a teddy bear's picnic, a pulley picnic, and they'd listen to the stories, and they just wanted to know more and more and more. And Jimmy was my prince, so he became Prince Brutus.
Of the Kingdom of Puli.
Yes,
right.
yes.
Yeah.
And we just thought, the way dogs think, and we put their quirkiness into the kingdom, that they like to eat marrow bones, and they don't eat with hands, and
they have magical powers, but that only can be used for the general good of dog or man.
Yeah, good of man. They're given magical powers by, there he is, the famous wizard Merlin. He's 200 years old.
Okay.
And they're only allowed to use these powers for good, never evil.
So it's Harry Potter meets Lassie.
That's exactly right.
But we don't talk about Harry Potter.
Oh, no.
No. I think we're more Lion, Witch and the
Lion,
Wardrobe.
Witch and the Wardrobe. And we also like to write in a Dickensian type of style. Both Karen and myself are very excited about reading Dickensian type of books. And that is how we've tried to write this, in a much slower style and a much more interesting style.
Yeah, we've tried to go back to the Railway Children, Secret Garden, Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe. We've tried to bring it as a family classic, as opposed to Harry Potter, like the modern day.
We had a funny moment before you came on air because I was slightly concerned. You've got this. What happens? Any puli who gets caught being nasty gets banished to a place called Togo,
yes.
Which is sort of described as a dark, swampy place of bad people. And I pointed out to both of you that Togo is actually a country in West Africa, and you both said,
I've never heard of it. It was a name that came out of my head.
And this is a children's
You've never
story,
heard of Togo?
Nick.
No.
Nick, this is fantasy. It could be anything we want it
So
to be.
anybody from Togo in Africa, I am not insulting you. I really am apologising.
Definitely not.
It was in my head. And basically the caves, we just called them Togo. And it's Warlock Rufus has got a wonderful palace there. So he is the king there. And, for him, it's a beautiful place with his daughter Mortissa and King Spartus. So, I'm sorry if we've insulted you.
What have you brought with today?
Well, this is Queen Allegra. Can you see how beautiful she is? She is the queen of Puli. And she has diamonds and sapphires and... She's beautiful, isn't she, Nick?
She's a teddy bear. Yeah, she's quite spectacular. She's certainly.
Karen hand makes them.
I hand make them all.
Everything illustrates and hand makes them.
Are you going to be selling these?
Well, I hope to one day get somebody that will produce them, and everybody can have their own favourite teddy bear as they're reading the story.
Is the big dream to be on CBeBS or
I'd love to be on CBeBS,
Yes.
Nick. Shout out anyone listening from CBeBS, come on. I want to come on your show.
Because that is the holy grail for any author, isn't it?
I know.
The story gets picked up and serialised.
Oh, definitely on CBeBS. Love to.
On a serious note, in terms of your condition that you live with, in terms of living with lupus, how has writing this book and doing all the work around it actually impacted positively on living with lupus?
It's been fantastic, Nick, because when you're ill, you kind of can shut yourself into your own world, especially when a woman loses her hair. And believe me, I had a lot of it, and when I lost it, it's horrible. So starting to write and put myself into an imaginary world and finding people were enjoying what I was doing gave me a purpose to carry on and want to get the story out there and forget about my pain, you know, when it hurt the most.
Plus, of course, it has the benefit of keeping Jimmy's memory alive.
Of course.
Have
and
you
that's-
never replaced him?
No, I can't.
Oh, never.
We're actually going next on the 1st of May. We're going to do a charity and selling our books to the National Animal Trust. And then in July...
Oh, on the A41, they got their open day, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I drove past it yesterday.
And then
so
we're-
you're going to be there?
We're going to be
Yes.
there, and we're going to the RSPCA where Jimmy came in July for Southridge's open day. And
Okay.
everything we get, we donate back.
The
because-
National Animal Welfare Trust, which is on the A41, just past the Mercure Hotel, which is where you need to park if you go for their open day on the 1st of May. I know that because I drive past it every day. The book is called, excuse me, The Kingdom of Puli, P-U-L-Y. It's written by Karen David, but you've worked out already that it's two people. Karen and David. I see what you did there. David Karen could have worked just as easily. And it's published by Austin Macaulay Publishing at a price of around 11 quid. Stay well, Karen, and good luck with the book as well.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, Nick.
It's a
Thank
pleasure.
you, Nick.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Nick Coffer.
BBC Three Counties Radio.